Hi, everybody. Welcome to Lunchtime Live. Our cameras are doing the funny thing they do. I tried to fix it this morning.
How's it working for you?
It's like that thing where there's something wrong, and then you go to the doctor, and it's perfectly fine, and then you go home for the doctor, and it's not working again.
Yeah.
It's one of those.
Yep.
Everything's fine here. How
happens.
are you guys? Happy Monday.
Happy Monday indeed.
Happy February.
Yeah. Trying to be as upbeat as possible here. And
yeah, it is. If you are joining us from not in Connecticut, Connecticut is dreary.
It's not been great.
No.
Oh my goodness. The last few days. Yeah. Just ice everywhere. I've never seen so much ice on the campus.
Yes.
As during the past few days. It's been horrific. And the grass, in fact, froze solid.
Yeah.
So walking out on it, it's like a million needles.
Oh, I'm sure the dog loved that.
Yes, I've been watching little Dot trying to pick her way.
Yes. Poor Penelope was trying to, she doesn't go upstairs in a calm way. She just hurls herself upstairs. So we have like 3 steps up to the little deck. And so she just, I think she slipped. I think she was inelegant. She had a moment. So now she's afraid of the little steps. So she's like, I don't really want to do that. So dogs and humans alike are not fond of the ice.
Our challenges.
Yes. And today is wintry mix, which is might as well be a 4-letter word.
I know. There was a moment this morning, though, when I looked outside and it was snowing.
That was pretty.
With that beautiful dark background of the trees. Yeah. And I thought, that's really, really beautiful.
That's nice.
So I can savor moments like that. I wasn't savoring the moments last night when taking out the dog for the last time.
No. And we have I don't know how you do it with the dog, but we have sections we don't salt.
Yes.
Because I know the salt is no good on her paws. But then I'm also trying not to fall. And so it's a delicate balance we face.
I don't want to go too far down this road.
We're already at the next intersection.
We had a very bad ice storm. It must have been 7 or 8 years ago. And it was night. And then it snowed heavily on top of the ice. So you had no way of telling where it was. And I was walking our Labrador Beau along the side of the church building. That was fine. We went out on the driveway and back, and I slipped.
Oh, no.
Fell. And there was so much ice, I couldn't get up, and I started laughing.
Oh, no.
And he just came over and started licking my face.
He's like, you okay? You okay?
And I said, this is why we love New England. For moments like this.
Well, I feel like the ice thing is not that common. Like I'm used to ice in the South. Because we get the cold temperatures and then it'll kind of get warm enough to rain.
Right.
And then you're basically stuck in your house for 3 days because you can't get out because it's ice everywhere. Yeah. The black ice. I remember being terrified of the black ice.
Oh, yes. It's like
it's a whole thing. It's a thing. As they say, it's a thing. It's a thing. So we're starting off Monday, starting off February, and you're getting ready for a book. It's not really a book club. It's like a book event.
Yeah. Book discussion.
Book discussion. Yeah. That's nice. I like that.
Yeah. I'm excited about this. Evan Osnos is the author.
Mm-hmm.
He has some Round Hill Community Church connection.
I love that. That's very cool.
His grandparents were here, and there's still many people who remember them very fondly, and so that's nice. And he grew up in Greenwich. He grew up right down the street, Round Hill Road.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing?
That's very cool.
It's very cool. And went to Greenwich High School, and he won the National Book Award. He spent 9 or 10 years in China.
Wow.
And he and his wife lived there. And I think he was the bureau chief there for the Chicago Tribune. Not exactly sure. But so he wrote a beautiful book called The Age of Ambition about China, which won the National Book Award. Mm. And he's a writer for The New Yorker and wanted to write a book about how he thought America had changed when he was away.
Oh, interesting.
And that was the genesis for the book.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how connections are made because he wanted to interview me, I think because he had this historic connection with the church, which is great. And he had actually read articles that I've been writing that had gone onto the Greenwich Sentinel.
Oh, neat.
So that was initially how we made contact. But he wrote this book over a period of years, and it's called Wildland, which that says a lot right there.
It's quite a title.
The Rise of America's Fury. So that gives you quite an entree into what he's thinking.
Yeah.
And it's a very compelling portrait of Greenwich, Connecticut, Clarksburg, West Virginia, and Chicago, Illinois, 3 places where he's lived.
Okay.
And that's the thread that's the background for the book.
Mm-hmm.
So he's a wonderful, gracious person, and I hope one day we'll be able to get him here. He's been in Greenwich a few times. Once the book came out, did a presentation at Greenwich Library.
Yeah.
And but I'm hopeful that we'll be able to bring him back, especially since he's got that Round Hill Community Church connection.
That'd be so fun. Maybe could he come on the podcast?
I think that would be great. I'm sure he'd love to do that. Yeah.
He could phone. I was gonna say he could Zoom in, but we don't use Zoom. We're fancier than that. But whatever the equivalent of Zoom is for this, it's become its own verb.
Yeah, it has been. Yeah, but that's a great idea, and he would make a wonderful guest.
That'd be so fun.
Yeah.
I have to work on that. We have some fun interviewees up our sleeve.
Yes, we do.
We love doing interviews on Round Hill Radio.
It's a lot of fun.
It really is energizing.
Isn't it?
I feel like.
I agree.
Here's a question for our audience. Because I know a lot of you guys watch after the fact, which is totally fine.
Mm-hmm.
We're glad you're here at all.
Absolutely.
It sounded super desperate. But we're so glad you're here. But are there any guests that you want to hear from?
Yeah.
That you think would be fun, educational,
local,
entertaining, local, not local?
Yep.
We have the technology.
We do.
We can pretty much interview anyone from anywhere so long as they have an internet connection.
That's right.
Which is super cool.
I love that. Thank you for mentioning that, because I think we are part of a congregation and part of a world where people love the exchange of ideas.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And there's something great about breathing in the oxygen of ideas.
Yeah.
Really, it's good for us, and in a lot of different ways. So that would be wonderful to have some actual requests. That would help us a lot.
I love it.
Gives us some direction.
That would be great. So you can just leave a comment on this video, right? If you scroll down when you're watching the video. You can also email us at podcast@roundhillcommunitychurch.org.
That's fun.
It is fun. I think that'd be really fun. I'd love to hear who you guys want to hear from.
There's a great book that I read a few years ago called Curiosity Conversations.
Oh.
And it was about a commitment that a filmmaker had made. Every year, one of the fun things he would do for himself was to sit down with a pad of paper, pen, and write down the names of people he would most want to talk with in the world.
Oh, nice.
And because he has a special connection because of his role as a film producer, he's got a lot of ways to reach these people.
Sure.
So that's what he would do, and he would learn so much from having these conversations. My experience in general is that people love to be talked to, and talked with, and to have good conversations and with good questions. So that would be a wonderful way to continue that here.
Oh, I like that. It puts me in mind of that sort of that question that people ask each other is like icebreakers. Of like, if you could have anyone at a dinner party, dead or alive, who would it be? So since we're here and you're the one I'm talking to, who would you have at a dinner party, Ed? Who's like 5 or 6 people that you'd want at your like dream dinner party? I won't hold you to it. You can change it later if you want.
Oh, listen, I've got a whole
off the cuff.
I've got a whole bunch of people.
Yeah.
But the one person, it's interesting you asked this question.
Really?
Yeah, because I've been going through some family stuff recently, just kind of looking through. And the one person I could spin this out to a lot of people, but I am so intrigued. I never had a chance to meet him. So this would be inviting someone who's no longer alive. That would be Charles Eckerson, who was my mother's father.
Okay.
And I've thought so many times, for some reason, and I go back through my family history, and I just think of all the people that I could invite, but I'm really intrigued by him. He died as a very young man. He was in his 20s. So my mother barely knew him. And he was a nurse, a male nurse at a time when probably not common for many men to be nurses.
Sure.
But he was a nurse at the Binghamton State Hospital, which is one of the first hospitals in the country. In fact, the first to treat alcoholism as a medical condition. And he sadly developed pneumonia, and there was no way to help him through that. But he was also a little bit of a poet, and we have some of his artwork.
Oh, wow.
So he's the one I'd like to say, so what got you started? Why did you get interested in all of that?
That's cool.
All right. So that's who I would invite. And now I want to hear yours.
Oh, no, well, you're allowed to have more than one person.
Well, I'll start there.
Okay, we'll start there. Well, now, yeah, because it kind of puts you in mind of family people. I feel like if I had, well, now I have two family people in mind. I would
double the fun.
Yeah, right. I'm trying to decide between two because we have in our family a great grandmother on my mother's side that was the only that we know of professional musician. She was an opera singer.
Good heavens.
My mother thinks she looks like me. I don't really think so, but it's very sweet that she says so. So I kind of wanted to talk to her about what that was like because I'm sure it was wild.
Right.
Like being in the theater, being on stage.
That's also a book called Wildland.
Yeah. I bet. Man, if she'd written a memoir, that would have been amazing. Right? Oh my goodness. I bet she has just some incredible stories.
Oh, wouldn't you want to hear them?
Yeah. Yeah. Because I always like, if I had been a braver, more talented person in that way, I would have loved to have been on Broadway. That's my secret dream, which is not those secrets I'm telling the whole world right now.
And was she based in New York at all, or was she?
I don't even know.
Yeah, that would be the other fun thing to find out, right?
Probably
where she did most of her work.
Because my mother was born in Albany, so there's a lot of family up here in New York. So, which is why I don't, for the record, have a Southern accent, being from Atlanta, because I was raised by two Yankees.
I have wondered that from time to time.
Have you wondered it? Yeah. I mean, I can put it on, but I don't really like to. It's super fake. Yeah, it's not a good look. Either that or my father's mother, who passed away when I was a teenager, and she was very beloved. And I kind of just wish I could have like an adult conversation with her, like a real moment of like connection. Because I was always a kid. I was always like in my own kid head, like running around. And I remember my father and his father always watching like war documentaries. So I have a great fondness for war documentaries now. But it's yes, I would like to just like connect with her because I have a lot of like her craft stuff. She was a great sewer, did a lot of like needlework, and I have a lot of her stuff. So I would like to like talk to her about that stuff.
Wouldn't that be a gift?
That would be a gift. Yeah, right? She passed away too soon.
Yeah. Well, these people are never really far from us, right?
That's
so
right.
they're always there, and sometimes closer than we think.
Yeah.
So it's wonderful. That's a wonderful question. Be a great one for our listeners to think about.
Yeah. Is there like a famous person you would want to talk to?
I think the one person who comes to mind, like right off the top of my head, is a man named Dag Hummershoald. So Dag Hummershoald was he was the Secretary General of the United Nations in the 1950s. And he was a really remarkable person in that he dedicated himself completely to public service. So he chose not to have any family at all. And so kind of rose up through the ranks over the years in public service. And he kept a diary over the years and never shared it with anyone. It was only shared after his death. And it was called Markings, or the English word that's translated as Markings. Yeah. And it's been one of my favorite books. And every entry is very, very short. It's almost as if he kept a slip of paper on his desk and from time to time wrote down not more than 50 words.
Wow.
And that would be his entry.
Oh, nice.
And he didn't do it for a long period of time, but some of the things that he has said in that little book have been instrumental for me.
Wow.
Very, very meaningful. And so I would love to sit down. He also had a great passion for antique books. So he was a collector. I think that's what he did as his thing, when he wanted to relax.
Yeah.
Probably visited wonderful old bookstores and collected those books.
Yeah.
So, but he's the person I'd want to.
How did you learn about him?
I had a professor in college who was someone who was really had a voracious mind and had come across a biography of Dag Hummershoald. And so I read that, and that's what set me on that path.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's great.
Kind of one connection after another.
I like that.
Yeah. So who are you going to invite?
I'd say my next person, I was thinking of Jean Demacia.
Ah.
She was a famous organist and composer. And she's written some of my most favorite organ music ever. It is so hard. But I found out about her when I was a junior or senior in college.
Okay.
And my organ professor, Todd, played this piece that she had written called Te Deum. It was based on the Te Deum Gregorian chant.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what was that? Like, stop the presses. I need to play that.
Oh,
and
that's a great feeling.
Because he is a brilliant man and knew me pretty well by this point. He went, I don't know. It's pretty hard.
Oh, gee.
Which meant immediately I learned it the fastest I've learned anything.
Of course.
Like,
a psychological genius he was.
Yeah, he knew me pretty well by that point.
Yeah. No. Don't bother yourself with it.
Don't trouble your delicate lady hands. So I was like, well, now I'm mad. So now I have to learn this piece. And it's been basically my favorite piece to play forever. She was the sort of star pupil of Marcel Dupré. So there was this big sort of like school of French organists all running around Paris about the same time. They were all like teachers of each other and friends of each other and pupils of each other. There was sort of the grandfather. It was sort of Charles Marie Widor of the famous Widor Toccata, which is the toccata from his Fifth Symphony, spelled with a W. It looks like Widor, but it's Widor. Yeah. And then there was Louis Vuierne, who famously was blind. Fun fact about him, he died on the organ. Oh
my heavens.
Yeah. Like,
wow.
And there were stops on, and so like you hear this see his foot hit the pedal.
Heavens. Yeah. Right there till the end.
Right. Organists have a bad habit of not retiring. Just always makes me think of that. I was like, yeah, that'll probably be me. Maurice Duruflé, his wife, Madame Duruflé. A lot of organists tend to marry each other. It's a problem. But Marcel Dupré, who I also greatly admire, his star pupil was Jean Demacia. And so she was a top-notch performer, a top-notch composer. She traveled extensively. She performed all of her concerts from memory, which there's there's a huge tradition in piano of performing from memory. Right. Organists tend not to do this. Which is fine by me.
I'm feeling relieved already.
Fine by me, because honestly, I can't remember all of that. I've done like from time to time, I'll do like a piece. Sure. Schools require you to do a piece. If you go to Juilliard, Paul Jacobs does require them to play from memory, and I was like, well, we'll be going to Juilliard. Her music is bombastic, and there's a section in her Te Deum that I had gone home to Atlanta, and my sort of high school organ teacher, he described it as sassy, and it's a little sassy. Like it's got some sass to it. It's got like a
I'm learning so many things today.
It's great.
Fantastic.
It's great. It does not really work on our organ here, which is why you haven't heard me play it. But it was actually written for the organ at St. John the Divine in New York City.
Oh, really?
Because they have these very famous state trumpets in the back,
Mhm.
which is like 4 city blocks behind
Right.
you. And so it has this very, so picture that instrument, right? You can see the
Sure.
translating that to a mere mortal instrument, of which most of the organs we play in the world are, is tough. But she passed away quite young. She was quite sickly. I think she was in her early 30s.
Wow.
And she left just some of the most wonderful pieces. And people often, well, I'll say often, people aspire to play her complete works, which is basically just a showing off because they are so difficult. My friend Stephen Tharp in New York City has done it, but of course he would because he's one of the best organists I've ever heard. But it's one day I too shall play all of her music.
Well, I want to be in on that dinner conversation.
Oh my gosh, it'd be amazing.
Yes.
I think she'd have lots of gossip about Dupre too, because
Well, that's okay. Throw a little in.
I think she's sassy. I like to think she's sassy. You hear her music, you're like, I could believe that.
We just had a message called the strength to tell stories. So I mean, she'd be just telling some stories.
Basically,
right?
Look at us tying it into the sermon without even knowing it.
Saying.
Look at us. Look at us. All right, one more person. Who you got?
One more person. I'm sorry. I've got to go back to a family.
Do it.
I'm kind of I wax and wane on my interest in ancestry.com, but I'm kind of in the ascendant mode at the.
I appreciate that.
It's a fantastic reservoir of information. It's been so much fun. So if it wasn't for Ancestry, I wouldn't have had a chance to meet my great-great-grandmother. At least there's an amazing photograph of her. Her name was Nellie Smith.
Nellie, hey.
Right?
Yeah, Smiths.
And
everywhere.
This photograph is so amazing. Has this just beautiful, kind face, and her hair is gray. But it's done very carefully, and just everything about her is kind of very well assembled. Her necklace and everything
She's
just
put together.
Yes. And I was looking at her photograph. It was either yesterday or the day before, and you can see, although she's not smiling, you could see that she has the kind of face where it looks like she's about ready to go into a smile at any time.
Nice.
Like the corners of her mouth are just ready to go up.
Nice.
And she is so intriguing to me. And I have a few photographs of her, which is interesting because I don't have many photographs of anybody else. But for some reason, a few of hers survived. And I want to know more about Nellie Smith. I would want to have a dinner time conversation with her. She looks like she'd be fun to have at the table.
I like it. It's funny because my grandmother, I was telling you, her name is Dell Smith.
Okay.
Very close. It's very close. I mean, the Smiths were everywhere. It's a problem.
Yep.
That's amazing that you found that out through the Ancestry thing.
I found that out through Ancestry because somebody else had been digging for information about her.
Oh, cool.
And luckily they were, on board and shared their information. And so suddenly I had this really lovely photograph of Nellie Smith.
That's great.
Yeah.
I will say as a Smith, sometimes we get into trouble on Ancestry because it's like,
oh my goodness,
I'm not related to every single Smith out there.
It must be an avalanche. You just put in a name. And...
yeah. You're like, oh. Well, my father's name is Robert, so it's like, wow, didn't have a chance. That would actually be an interesting person because my father was not born a Smith. I don't know if I told you the story. My father's biological father was a test pilot.
Yes, that part I remember. Okay.
And so my father was born a Parnell.
Oh,
so
right. That's interesting.
If all of that hadn't transpired, I would be Leslie Parnell.
Okay.
Which has some charm.
That's fine.
And so, and he died actually after the war.
Huh?
Testing airplanes in the States, but he made it through the war and then came back. I think I told you the story. I think I've told the story either here or on the podcast about how he was in like an American military video.
Yes.
Which is amazing. It's actually on YouTube. And so you can see him. And it's like it's really cool. You can see photographs of somebody and then you see them it's like 3 seconds of him, but he's like putting on his goggles or something. It's such a cool thing to see them come to life. He would be fun to talk to. Yeah. I know nothing about him. I would be so interested to see like and put him next to my dad and be
Right.
like, so
Yeah.
what there is from you, which is sort of an interesting thing. Because my dad was, I think, 3 or 4 when he died. He was
Okay.
very, very young.
My gosh.
So that would be cool.
That would be really
That would be
wonderful.
cool. So we'll throw it to you, friends. Is there anybody? What's your dream dinner party? We're asking you many questions today.
Yeah.
What's your dream dinner party? Anyone interesting? I'll admit, when I first asked the question, I immediately went Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Okay.
Just because she seems really cool, and I want to
have a chat.
I want to have a chat with her. I'd run my best caller. So who would you have at your dream dinner party, and who would you have on our podcast? So lots of opportunity here. We love to hear from you.
Yeah.
Every time we do, you make what we make better. So thank you for being here. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you back here next week.